Massive shout out to Tania and Mike Zachan from Stinger Frames over in New Zealand. Without their help, this wouldn't be possible. Please support those who support me.
Some people don't want to go into a racing situation. They just want to get on, have a try and say, hey, I like it, or no, I don't, so exactly. So I'm sure with the amount of people and even the tracks over there that are bike dedicated, it must be able to be done there too, like have a go day once a year. I'm not sure on the regulations over there or what you'd have to do to sign your life away. I'm sure we would have to sign a piece of paper here to say, if it all turned to custard, don't sue us, sort of thing. But there's always that side of it. Anything is possible. But that's pretty much how we bring the new people into the sport here. But that's only in one part of New Zealand. It's not anywhere else. So you do end up with the same names coming back, like the Mike Zachans or the Russell Stewarts, Paul Humphrey, Nick Edmonds has just got back out of the sport, but he was come back in, Craig Bowler. There's so many names that have been around for 20 plus years that are still doing it, so that's what's keeping it alive at the moment. And these newbies, they're coming through and then they get the bug and they want to spend a bit more and they want to go a bit faster, so they get a faster bike and then they drop that one back down to some other people. It does happen, and it's really strong over here. Like we're up at about 17 to 18 sidecars in Palmerston North this season, so that's really, really good.
Wow, that is a lot of bikes to have in just one area, let alone a country. But I got to get over there and watch some of these Kiwi races.
Yeah, you'd probably look at it and go, bloody hell, it's not the same because it's not as sideways, we don't get crossed up on the gas, where it's a lot more controlled because of the clay is a lot more inconsistent. So you could come into the corner, get on the gas, and all of a sudden you hit a real drivey spot, and you'll lift the front, pop it back down again, and then you'll hit slick and you'll come right round. So there's a lot of finesse. And to be honest, you can become a really good rider riding on the clay because of that reason. And when you get on a good track that's consistent all the way around, well, it's easy to ride.
I suppose as a tradesman in something, all you're trying to learn is feel and finesse. And when you're getting, I wouldn't say garbage, but when you're getting a different material that is so inconsistent, you'd probably come to Brisbane and just go, wow, because Darren Trelaw's son, Jake, he was there on Saturday and he just said to me, he goes, you can just keep building up speed. It's fantastic. So it wasn't a lot of get off the gas moments. So I'd love to see you guys come to a really nice manicured track.
Yeah, we'd be well spoiled. Even in Auckland, the track does go quite slick there as well. So it can be a challenge. But hey, as I say, it is on my bucket list to come over and do a few laps in Brizzy, and probably either Gilman or Mildura probably would be on my list.
Me too. I haven't been to Mildura yet, and I'm in talks with Gilman at the moment to get there. But even for me, if I just go by myself, and Afterpay has been amazing. I don't know if you guys have got that over there, but that's how I financed my season last season. I'd pay everything off, and as soon as I was nil, bang, I'd go load it up full of thing on tick again. But yeah, Gilman's one of those tracks, isn't it? I'd love to go there.
I cannot believe I actually got to attend Gilman. Thank you so much to all the proud partners. Without your help, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I was fortunate to have been there. I've been there a couple of times, and one was Darren's testimonial meeting, and it was awesome. Glenn Obrien was there. There's a few people that weren't there that were going to be there that I was a bit gutted about, but to see those guys riding at that stage, I didn't know Darren to talk to. I knew Mark, but not Darren. Yeah, so it's an amazing place. The speed that they get there will blow your mind. It just actually hooked me. The first time I'd ever gone to Aussie to watch the sidecars was Wavell Showgrounds in South Australia, and I did not want it to end. These guys were 500 millimeters off the fence. I poked my head over and looked how close they were. I couldn't describe it. How they rode that close to the fence that fast. I was like hooked. That was me.
We just had a big local parliament lady come to just a solo meeting, and there was no sidecars, and she was absolutely blown away that this sport exists, let alone it's on dirt, no brakes. But you even get some of the circuit sidecar guys, and they come out to a dirt track and they just go, sign me up, I just want to get on.
Yep, too right. We have one guy, actually, not sure if he's a world champion, but definitely he's been a champion of some sorts in the road racing sidecars, and they've just bought a bike. He actually had a bit of a tip up here in Palmy last weekend, so hope those boys are all right. But they'll come back, and it's definitely different. Obviously, no brakes, like you say. We're only going one way. It's sliding where they probably prefer not to slide, so it's different, something different, and they'll be just as hooked as the road racing side of it.
This topic has been flogged to death, but I suppose we'll talk to you about it a little bit. But everyone you talk to about fuel injection versus carbies, everyone thinks carbies is better. Everyone thinks injection's junk. There's a few people like Dave Bottrell's got a really cool injected bike, but it's just not quite there yet. There is injected bikes getting around, but how come most bikes, or how come you see the advantages of running carburetors?
I actually watched your interview with Warren, and he hit the nail on the head, bang on, and he pretty much said it how I would have said it, word for word. What happens with fuel injection is very metered, so it's very precise. It's made to, when you wind the gas on, you get the precise amount of fuel, everything's in. What that creates is wheel spin. Okay, with the carburetors and the other ignition systems that you run, it's not very metered. It's not very well tuned, and you can crack the gas right open, so your slides are right open. It's pouring methanol in, which you want. And this tyre won't just spin up, it'll drive, because it's actually producing a lot of torque, because you're actually introducing a lot of fuel at not a lot of RPM. So you can get ignition systems that'll give you more wheel spin if you want it. But I used to be injection through and through, swore by it, tried a set of carburetors, went out, won the first meeting I'd ever raced on them, and I'm like, I'm sold, just sign me up. I'm carburetors for life, and I have been, It's just very, very simple. If you've got a problem, you either got fuel pumps are down, or something's blocking a jet, and the jets and the carbies are quite big, so it's not very likely that will happen. And I've seen guys with fuel injector bikes at the track, and they're revving them up, trying to clear them, or something's going wrong, or there's a gazillion wires. You don't even know where to look. You need a computer to plug into it to download it. And there's pros and cons. I'm not saying fuel injection or carbies are better than fuel injection, because someone will sort of get it, but that person that gets it won't be able to put it on this guy's bike and he'll get it, because it's tunable to the track, it's tunable to the guy riding it. Carbies are just more versatile. For me, carbies are more versatile and easier to set up. You can be a little bit either way as well, and they'll be sweet as.
Not being as precise and a little bit more forgiving is the ticket. But over here in my state, you've got people like Luke Mytham. He's got a really, really nice injected Suzuki bike. I've spent a lot of time with him on that, and it's fantastic, but he's forever on the laptop and that, which is good. That's what all the sensors are for. But at the same time, similar area is, we'll go back to Hamish again. Hamish's got a really healthy CBR. It's very, very quick, but it's got carbies on it, and doesn't seem to give him a whole lot of headaches. Like, it's not the biggest dollar bike in the world, but it definitely produces fast results.
He's got his setup good, he's been on that bike for a fair few years now as well. So once the carbies are set up, you don't have to go to the track and change things, to be fair, unless you're really, really involved in the tuning side of it. And not a lot of the guys are. You've got Warren, who's like the tuning god, because he's got the dyno, access to the dyno, and he knows all that stuff. So yeah, and then in regards to Hamish, yeah, he's had it pretty dialed in. You just turn up, you keep it clean, do all your regular maintenance, and you just don't have any. I don't have any troubles, and I would expect he would.
Yes, of cleaning the fuel system and that. I already know why, but explain to the common viewer who might not even ever get to sit on a bike, why is it important to clean it with the fuels that we run, and what is the process? Basically, the methanol is very aggressive. It's a very aggressive fuel. It's most places actually don't use it to run a motorbike, say, or a racer, sprint car. It's actually used to clean things. It's a industrial cleaner. So it's very aggressive on aluminium. What can happen, let's say you filled your fuel tank right up full of methanol. It was filled to the top. There was absolutely no room for any air. You can leave your fuel tank full. But as soon as your fuel tank drops down and there's air in the air cavity in there, that methanol will start to attack the aluminium, So it's very, very corrosive. So an Australian methanol is actually more, I don't know why, but it's more corrosive than New Zealand methanol or Kiwi methanol. So what we do, every meeting, the carburetors up. Once we wash the bike with the carb. Well, this is what I do. Wash the bike with the carburetors on, and they get water blasted so that most of the dirt's off them, and all around the intake ports are clean. And then the carbies come off. They're washed in petrol outside first, and then we take the top. Bear with me. Give me 1 second. You're right.
Some of the viewers won't have seen a set of carburetors.
Awesome.
So what we basically do is once they've been washed on the outside to get all the major bits of dirt and debris off them, these are obviously in some sort of state of repair. We take the caps. These normally have caps over the top of them, and this is where the slides actually run. So when you actuate the throttle, the slides will slide up. A bit hard to do with the.
No, it's all right. It makes sense.
Yeah, they slide up, and that's how you get your fuel into your motor. So yeah, we wash all down inside here with petrol, mostly sealed, but the dust still gets in there somehow. I have no idea how. And underneath here, this is where all the fuel sits and gets taken from your main jets, your pilot jets, and bits and pieces like that. So these come off as well, and we basically wash everywhere where the methanol has been with petrol, and then we blow them all out, WD-40, and put everything back together, and then you're ready to go again. It is an actual really time-consuming process to do a set of carbies properly. It's probably a good hour, if not more, to pull them apart. Some people go even further. They pull all the jets out, and that's probably something I would do once a season before a big meeting, if I really wanted to get carried away and make sure I didn't have any failures. So that's a set of 39mm FCR carburetors. So that's what most guys run, whether it be 37s, 39s, 41s. They all look the same. So that's the process, really. And then you've got your air cleaner as well. Your air filter takes an absolute hiding, whether you're on clay or dirt. So that's washed in terps first. And then once it's washed in terps, you wring it out, and then we wash it in warm soapy water so it don't shrink the filter. And then that's just hung out to dry and then ready to re-oil again. And you repeat the process all over again for about 6 minutes racing. She's about 6 hours cleaning and getting prepared for the next one.
Everything gets hammered with dirt, clay, whatever, and that's what you're trying to avoid. You're trying to avoid that stuff creeping into, because I've seen motors pulled down where they've gone upside down, ripped the carbies off, and it's got a lung full of dirt. It's just, so harsh for the bike, but it's a necessary beast, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And hey, I've even had parts like you said just then. Even without a big off and the carbies coming off, I've found pieces of track inside that crankcase, and you're like, how did that even get in there? I've no idea, but they've been in the oil pan, and it's like, you do your very best to keep it clean, and sometimes it's just unavoidable. It just does get everywhere.
I think that's a good way to approach it, because it is a very primitive style of racing, but at the same time, it is also a lot involved. And I think once you get the nod from the referee, I think you've only got 2 minutes to try and sort out what you got to sort out.
Yep, exactly right. And there isn't a lot of time that goes by. If you sat here now for 2 minutes, you'd be like, shit, that's going on forever. But when you're trying to fix something and you're stumbling around for your tools and you're shaking and you're sweating, 2 minutes has gone like that, and you're, sorry, they closed the gate. So I haven't been put in that position too often. I have seen it plenty. And if I was ever in that position, I'd be trying to tell myself, just take it easy, calm down, and if it's going to happen in the 2 minutes, it will, and if it won't, well, you just miss out, but it could be very stressful.
I never stick to a structure with this. I get very bored very quickly, and I think it just sucks if you have the same question all the time. But what's something you've done on the track that's been super embarrassing but no one's known of?
Yes, that's a bloody good question, Dave. I can't think of anything. No, I can't honestly think of anything that what I would have done that was super embarrassing.
I've got one for you from Bailey Ogilvie, Bryce's son. He did this on Saturday. He fell for the oldest trick in the book, and he was so filthy about it. He was at the start, and the oldest trick in the book is someone next to you just give it a hit on the clutch, and he straight up through the tapes. And I went afterwards, he was filthy on it.
Yeah, I have done that. I wasn't embarrassed about it, but I definitely have done that to a guy, and his nickname's Handbag, and I remember it was in Palmerston North, and we were all at the tapes, and I give it a bite, and then he gives it a bite, and then the tapes go up, and we go, and he's still sitting there, and I still look at that race and think, and I have a bit of a giggle, because it is a classic. It's a classic thing to do to someone,
Evil minds in the sport, and Spud, I'll go back to him. He's one of them. He's shocking for gamesmanship. He loves it. It's his favourite part of racing. Do you have any little tricks and things you get involved with, or are you too focused on what you're trying to do?
No, I believe your bike's got to sound pretty angry, like it's psychological horsepower. If the bike looks fast, even if it isn't fast, you pretty much got it won by the time you get to the gate. They'll be like, "Fang, look at this thing. We're going to get thrashed by half a lap here." And even if you don't, it still gets into their heads. And I don't really like to play too many mind games, because I see it a little bit, and it sort of does sometimes annoy me. And I think it's not always needed, because maybe if it was an Aussie title or something like that, yeah. But like just a normal meeting. We got like in New Zealand at the moment, like the whole crew, the whole scene, is really good, and there's not too many games being played or gamesmanship as such. We can give each other a bit of hard time about making it sound good or doing something different. And I've always got something different on my bike that I'm trialing that people will see, and then that starts their mind ticking over. But yeah, don't play too much into the mind games, to be fair.
I've said this plenty of times too, but another one who's shocking for it is Darren Treloar. He knows exactly what gate he wants in a final, everything, but he'll walk around with his bag of helmet colours and dig out this gate and that. It works it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you're dead right, and it's like that part of it I quite like, because yeah, it's all part of his. It's actually probably just giving everybody more time to cool down, giving himself time to cool down. If he was in the last heat or something, he's looking at it, and it's the hype too. It builds it up. That's what the crowd want to see. They want to see him going around kicking the dirt and looking at it and thinking, trying to visualize it. It's a lot of what I do as well. I get to the tapes. Not that I'm a super competitive anymore, but I used to get to the tape and I used to look at the tape and then look at the first corner and imagine myself there first. And not always it happened, but if it did, that was all part of my routine. I'm not one to put my right sock on before my left or anything, but that was one thing I was taught by a guy. Imagine you getting to the line first and then getting to the corner first. That's what you want to do. And if you do, it's worth it, So I like all that type of thing, which I don't dig the gardening too much. I think they could probably shorten that up a little bit. Yeah, when you see some of the ruts you guys have to deal with, it's pretty bloody terrible.
How would you describe to someone that doesn't race a sidecar particularly, how do you know where someone else is on the track, or does that even factor into your mind?
Funny you say that. This year it does. I'm very aware now. I had a bit of a spill last February in Invercargill. Just a racing incident, to be fair. I did shoot a few choice words at the person that locked up in front of me when I was walking to the ambulance. But I do try and be aware of the guys around me now. A lot of the guys I could race side by side with all the time, but there is a lot of guys that probably aren't at a skill level that their bikes can race to, because they're obviously really, really grunty, or they don't handle very good, and they're not set up. So you've got to be aware of everybody that's on the track, and even the guy on the bike that could be the slowest or the worst handling, he can go out and beat you. You can't discount anybody in our sport. But yeah, you got to be aware, or you'll get hurt. I've been hurt plenty of times.
I'm always really impressed when I talk to people and they go, I knew he was coming. And you say, what do you mean? And they go, I could hear him and I could hear this and that. And I always like watching people that are very, very good thinkers during a race. You can see them line a move up a full lap before. Is that how you sort of attack things?
I wasn't ever one to really do a lot of passing with sort of gate and go and then just see what happens really. But with the later model motors, you got so much more power. The different tyres we're even trying now, like these tyres that are on the bike, Hoosier. I don't know how you guys pronounce that, whether it's the same. Is it? Hoosier? Yep. So we're trialling a few different things, and it's been able to give us options that we can race a little bit wider and do a bit of outside passing. I know you guys in Aussie are basically solo tyre rear wheels all day long. And that's cool. I see the pros for that, because it makes everybody on the same pace. Because what would happen if you did introduce something like this into Aussie, and potentially it could come, you get two different speeds of bikes. This will drive really hard in certain parts of the track, and your solo tyre will drive hard in different parts of the track. And then you get people running into people with these tyres because the solo tyres aren't hooking up going in. So I definitely see the pros and cons for the solo tyres, but it would be nice to be able to see something else introduced as a trial that you could use apart from that, like on a slick track, bike tyre on a slick track, it can be pretty monotonous to watch really, because they're not hooking up, and it can be pretty processional, where a tyre like this could throw something else into the mix that, a guy with the big enough balls, he'll be able to go around or go under or something like that. So yeah, I like to be able to mix it up and get around the bikes that I feel comfortable doing that too. You still got to keep it into the back of your mind that if you're going around a bike and you're not quite up far enough, they can give you a bit of a tap and you end up upside down as well. So explain to someone who doesn't ride a sidecar, and even when I hopped on one for the first time, it was like, shit, this is pretty weird. They only want to go one way, of course, and they definitely don't want to go left. So yeah, it's that's how I'd explain it to someone anyway. She's pretty wild.
What is it with you Kiwis and the nicknames? Because I've heard of nicknames like Footy and
Handbag,
Dipstick, and all sorts of names. So what is it with the nicknames?
I don't know, and some of the nicknames I don't even still know how they originated, but it's quite good. We got Horse, Handbag. There was Sally. Handbag and Sally were a great team for many and many a year. I believe they raced in Australia too a couple of times. I don't know what it is about the Kiwis and their nicknames, but they must have earned them somehow, and I guess one day I'll hear the reasoning behind it all.
Going to a meeting, what are some of the essentials that you pack that aren't racing related?
Chocolate milk. Yep. So I'll stop it off. We have a chili bin, and you'll have it over there. Nippies, eh? You got that?
Yeah.
2 chocolate milks. So after the meeting, I have to have a chocolate milk. I have to. I think I don't know. It helps lubricate the throat. I know a lot of guys probably think, maybe you have Tui's over there or whatever you guys drink. That they have the old Tui's or to lubricate their throat. Well, I'd go to KFC, grab a tower burger and a iced chocolate, and I'll be away.
I'm just so fascinated when I get to talk to some of you guys, especially across the ditch, because I don't know what the factors were, but straight up I managed to get hold of Spud, and then Philippa and Bailey and his dad are really close to me. But I'm trying to get more Kiwis on here to talk, and I'm blown away by some of the insights that you guys have for me, because straight up, I'm a fan, let alone anything else.
And to be fair, mate, I really appreciate everything you're doing for the sport. Like, it takes a massive amount of time to do, even edit this video into something that you can put onto YouTube. It will take hours. Like, people just think it happens like that, but it doesn't. Like I do it. I haven't really done the video side of it, but I used to do my boys' GoPro racing, and even that, it takes a lot of time. So on behalf of everybody and involved with the sidecars, I thank you very much for what you're doing, and surely there's
in a way, this is me being a 37-year-old man-child wanting to talk about Speedway all the time.
Yeah, and hey, I could talk about Speedway until my ears, or even your ears start to bleed probably. So, and most of the guys are like that. We wouldn't be in the sport if we weren't passionate about it. As I say, when in Wavell 2000, I'm pretty sure it was 2007, that really hooked me, and ever since then, I wanted to be the best that I could be. Not necessarily the best around, but the best that I could be with what I've got, So had a few hiccups along the way, but we've had some good times and some bad times, and I'll just look back at the good times now. And I think you did ask me before, how long before I hang the helmet up? Well, I don't know. Could be another couple of years in me yet. And bike building wise, what you see behind me will be the last one to come out of the Stinger jig. That's it. I just can't afford to give any more time to it, unfortunately, because it just soaked up so much time. I don't know how Russell ever did it back in the day. All those bikes, and he probably built 100. I've only built sort of quarter of that, and it takes a massive amount. Like, there's 40 hours in the frame, and then you've got everything else around it to try and build. To make the complete running bike, so it's it's staggering.
I suppose we're sort of winding down in this, and I haven't asked you a lot of this stereotype questions that I ask everyone, where'd you start and all that, because yes, that is a story to be told for another day. But today I'm just so blown away by some of the ideas you've got, and without trying to put it in a mean way, you're not at all arrogant about it. You're an open book, and you're saying this to someone who has a technical background, but also people that are up on the hill watching at race meetings can understand everything you're saying.
Yeah, and I'd like to get it out to a few more, like you're doing here, get it out to a few more people that love speedway, but necessarily don't love the sidecars because they just probably don't understand them. They're quite technically advanced, and they're not the type of sort of black t-shirted type of that used to be back in the day. We're really trying to professionalize it, like some of the car races here. They have their big teams, huge trailers and trucks. We don't have that as such, but we look presentable. We've got all the same coloured suits. The bikes are looking really mint, and put on a good show for the crowd. So it's good what you're doing, publicising it, getting it out there, and giving people a bit more knowledge. And when you say about me being arrogant, well, probably one day, or 10 years ago, I might have been. But we do change, I was probably too serious, took everything too serious, and didn't give the people the time I probably should have. I was just focused on bettering things, and I didn't want to be involved in that. I wanted to make my own bike. I wanted to race my bike. I don't want to be involved with them, but now I do. I've come to the point now. I'm like, and that was probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'm like, shit, missed out on a lot of bloody prize givings and that, where I just go, leave the track, and I want to be there and have a bit of a laugh with the guys and mingle and get on with everybody. It's not about winning now. It's about being social.
Who are some of the people within your racing career that have really been good to you? And you're not going to name everyone, and that's fine, but just some of the real standouts.
Basically anybody that's bought one of my chassis, to be fair, whether it's directly from me or I've built it for someone else and it's on sold. Everybody, generally, if I ring anybody and ask for something, they will help, and it's vice versa. Obviously Darren, around the time that I built him his frame, I'd have to probably owe him a fair bit, like just about most of his people that he's had under his wing would have to owe thanks to him for sharing his knowledge with me. Obviously Mark Playstead's, my biggest idol out of Australian speedway sidecar racing is Glenn Obrien. Look at the guy; he's absolutely unbelievable. Darren might have won 10 championships, but I just look back at the days when they were all racing together, the Cleves, the O'Briens, the Trelaws. That era of racing was even more mega than what it is now. So, and that's where I started too, back in the 2000s. It was just a wild sport. So probably don't have a hell of a lot. It's probably one person I should thank is my lovely wife. She stood beside me through the thick and the thin. I've been banged up, and we've had some hell of success stories. And every night when I've been out here building bikes, and I look at the window and she's cooking tea, she always smiles, and no matter what I want to buy, or if it's a bad decision or a good decision, she's always stood by me. So I owe everything to her, really, to be fair. Like tonight, I wanted to get the bike out of the van, and so she helps lift it out, lift it in. She'll wash the suit, do anything. Even if I need a part picked up, she'll just drop whatever she's doing and go and get it. And it all makes the wheels go around. And, a lot of the bikes that have been built in here, I wouldn't have been able to build them if it wasn't for her, because my 2 kids aren't actually to Tania, they're to my ex-wife. So she looked after the kids all those years while I was either out in the shed or racing. She would either come along or she would look after them. So hey, look, I couldn't thank her enough. No way.
I just want to thank you for coming on, because you're someone I've heard about so many different times, hanging with my friends, and, you know, especially hooking up with Mark Playstead a fair bit. He's told me a lot, and, you know, I'm just blown away at who you are to me. And yeah, it's just, I don't know what else to say, but thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Dave, and likewise, thanks for having me on. And